I was just watching this thing. There it is. Okay, here you go. 100% real man said, salute KB. What's up, bro? 6 months. Damn, that light bright as shit. Damn, he got hit. Let me how y'all doing this afternoon? Let me go through this. Salute, salute. Kwame Mad Love from Miami. Salute, salute. Man, my lights. I think what's a glare coming off of there? Looking like who? Looking like Rob Parker. Shit. Hey, but listen, man, I want to go over this video. I touched on it a little bit. I want to play it up under fair use. Oh, excuse me. I want to respond to some of these allegations or some of the conversation that they had. Yeah. Let's do it. I think it's playing. Make sure it's playing. Yeah, it's playing. All right, let's go through this real quick. I'm going to start it right here where they're about to start talking about me. Let's get this thing going.
Oh, that was different. That was different. That was when the show was doing this, and then he was he had it. And he had DC rocking. I'll tell you that though. You know what I mean?
I know. We love that.
But it's interesting. So that playoff series when we played against the Bulls was like the start of a lot of the issues right now with Kwame and Gilbert. And I just did a podcast about it. I had different reporters on. And it was Michael Lee, who was with the Washington Post, John Mitchell, who was with the Washington Times, and it was and Mike Wise, who was with the New York Times, and they were all there around that time because they've and so I still live here in Puget County, and people were stopping me all the time, like, why don't you say something about Gilbert and Kwame? They're going to war with each other. You should say. I'm like, why should I say something? This has nothing to do with me. Like, I
want you to get involved with them, or just say something on your podcast about.
Well, both, to get involved, to like get them to stop. Man, I was like, why do you think they'll listen to me? Like, why do you think that I'm the person? So we went and spoke about it, but it all came down to that. It started during that time. So there's actually, there's something you could probably help clear up. because that game, all right, going back to game 3 of that series. So remember the first 2 games, we went down to Chicago and we got smacked. We played poorly. You know, Gilbert and Boog shot terribly. It was not a good game. They smacked us twice. Right. And then the game coming back, I remember because you pulled me to the side. It was like either after a shoot around or after a practice, and you're sitting there talking to me, and you say, "Listen, I'm going to change things up a little bit this third game. I don't like the way the offense is stagnant a little bit, and it's not moving the way that I want it to move with Brendan playing at the 5. He was like, and I want you to play, and I want you to run the offense the way it's supposed to be ran." And that's what you told. Do you remember that? Yeah, that's what you told. And I was like, all right, I got you. And so, and then you said, and also, and that this even goes back to what you were saying about, Steve Nash and not wanting to. The point guard would push the ball down the sideline, and I would do a drag screen to start it off, and then get into the offense immediately. And you was like in that, and I remember Eddie Curry and Tyson Chandler both having a lot of problems with that because they couldn't decide if they were going to show out on the shooter or go with me. And I was just wide open once I rolled and was getting like 4 or 5 wide open dunks in the first quarter. So that game, I had a good game. You know what I mean? We won. Yep. You know, the whole city was on fire. And that's when Gilbert and Kwame's issues started. So I remember sitting there. I was sitting at the locker room because I had all the media people.
That's not when Gilbert and Kwame's issues started. Gilbert and Kwame's issues started after, it started way before that. Started after I said no to his agent at the time, Dan Fagan. Dan Fagan controlled Gilbert, in my opinion. He told me he was going to get me $80 million. He came to Utah. I remember calling Arn Tellman. I'm like, Arn, this guy is following me everywhere I go now. This is Gilbert's agent. He's buttering up to me. He's passing me the ball a lot all of a sudden, telling me he's going to get me paid. Just don't worry, follow the process. And then I told Gilbert no, like I'm telling him now. And then we'll expound on the rest. But that's where it started. After I told his agent, I'm not going with Dan Fagan, I stayed with Arn Tellem. Arn Tellem, I think he might have even wrote a letter or something to the board. I think that was tampering, agent tampering back then. I'll have to find out.
Around me, you know what I mean? And I was, home court. I was like, you got to stay ready. You got to be ready. I'll give them all the one-liners, right? So then I see the media going back and forth between Kwame and Gilbert, and you know what I mean. And they were going back here, and they went back here, and they went back here. I mean, I don't even know if you knew that this is what was going on.
I didn't know this was going on in the locker room. No.
So Gilbert, saying like, he wants me to pass the ball. He ain't doing nothing when he get the ball. And Kwame was like, well, he won't pass me the ball. So they just egging it on, right? Well, Gilbert said that you won't pass it. And I was like, so I remember afterwards, I was like, and I talked to some of them, and that's why I called some of the guys, the specific reporters, to come on the show with me. And I was like, why? This is our first win. Like this is a happy time. Like don't print this what they're doing. And they were all like, hey, we have to. They're telling us this. I don't print it somebody else's. And that's what started their whole issue. And somebody thinks, it was said, not by me, but somebody thinks or said somewhere that Gilbert came to you and told you not to play Kwame. And I was like, I didn't hear nothing about that. So let's go straight to it. You know what I mean? Did Gilbert ever come to you and tell you not to play Kwame?
Never. There was no player that I've coached that came to me on any team, on any level, to tell me who to play or who not to play.
This is correct. This is how plausible deniability worked. He didn't tell him not to play me. He told me I was in his way. So Gilbert Arenas is Ernie Grunfeld's little baby boy. And so when Gilbert Arenas told Eddie Jordan I was in his way, Eddie Jordan must do what Gilbert Arenas said, because Eddie Jordan was controlled by Ernie Grunfeld. So it's all a chain. Ernie Grunfeld did not hire Eddie Jordan. So Eddie Jordan didn't have a say-so in nothing. He didn't have a say-so in anything. So I don't know why he's saying what he's saying, but he knows Gilbert Arenas came to him. This is the same coach who came and did this little who need a more rope shit. And that's why I left. I said, this is not a team. You can't even hold this guy accountable to nothing. This ain't no team. This is a waste of time. And I don't like my time wasted.
And Gilbert did not come to me and say, now Gilbert might have come and just rambled at times, but he never said, don't play Kwame. No. Was that the series Kwame?
Oh, Gilbert might have came to you and rambled at times. Boy, these people lie so much and the truth ain't in them. Now imagine me going from veteran leadership like MJ, men that don't play. It's a tightly ran ship, to somebody who just play nonstop, who joke and fuck around all day long. Nothing serious. Everything is a joke. But this was the coach at the time.
He just stopped playing?
Yeah, so that was when he stopped going to, and if you remember, this was the only time where me and you got into an argument. The whole time we played, we never argued because it was when, and I was really more advocating for Kwame, if you remember. And I was like, well, give him a chance. He's all right. He's just frustrated with this. And he was like, no. He was like, no. He skipped practice. He can't just skip practice. I was like, I feel you. I got you, but just give him a minute. And I went and called him and everything like that. And I was going, and it was when Ernie was like, we don't need him on the team.
Well, this is what happened.
On the team.
Let me tell you what happened. Kwame, Ernie, he missed practice. Ernie met with Kwame and then called me up and says, let's meet Kwame in your office. So me, Ernie, Kwame come in. I think Steve Shepard, not Steve Shepard. Shepard might have been there too. But Kwame, Tommy Shepard. Kwame sat there and said, is that the year he broke somebody's window and had scars on his arm?
It might have been something like that.
So he sat there and Ernie says, well, do you want to be here on the team? Kwame said no. He did not want to play anymore. So that's how that went.
That's facts. I said, this is not a team. I held Ernie Grunfeld accountable. I said, Gilbert Arenas does anything he wants to do. He comes late, he goes to jail, gets in all this trouble, his friends gets in trouble. Anything that happens, you don't hold him accountable. He don't got to come to practice. He don't got to respect the coach. He don't got to play like a team. He don't got to play defense. Everything that I said, my job is too hard playing with this nigga. I can't fight through screens for him. He's playing one end of the court. So they don't like people that hold other people accountable. And I was the only one that held Ernie Grunfeld and Gilbert Arenas accountable. I said, this is a waste of my time. You let this boy act like a kid. It's ruining this organization. I told him straight to his face. He said, well, do you want to be a part of this organization? No, I do not. I don't want to play with this nigga. And what he's saying is really, it happened before I even got to that interview, because they came to my house and I told them at the house that I wasn't going to play. I said, I'm not your do boy. I'm not going to Gilbert said I'm in the way, so I'm out the way. Let him do his thing. And let him run this team into the ground, which he end up doing. It was the worst. He ruined Andre Blatch. Everybody who came around this guy, Nick Young would have had a better career. Everybody who came around him, he ruined with this stupid attitude that they're going to admit to. Everything I said about this guy, they're going to admit to it in this interview. So I ain't even got to say anything. In this video, it's going to say it all. But I definitely told Ernie Grunfeld, this is not a team. You just coddle a grown-ass man and you let him come in here and do whatever you want to do. This is not a team. I don't got nothing to do with this shit no more.
Admitted that he did not want to play. It was in front of me and Ernie and maybe Tommy Shepard. But that was that meeting. And we said, hey, he doesn't want to play. His heart, even if we try to convince him to play, to be on the team, his heart wasn't in it. For some reason, his heart wasn't in it.
Eddie Jordan, for some reason, come on now. As articulate as I am, I even gave you the reason. I said, Eddie Jordan, the day you went on the board and talking after you came up with rules and then you found out the politics of the league, you need to stop lying. You're like 70. Be a man for once. Stop lying. Go in there and come up on your next interview or hit my link, because I would like to interview somebody like you. and ask, what are the pressures of a coach that didn't get picked by the GM? Does he have to be a weenie dog to, let's say, the superstar player of the team? Can he implement punishments on the star player of the team? Let's just say if he write out a fine, does that person have to pay the fine, or does the GM undermine the coach and take the fine and throw it away and make it disappear so that you can never punish this young man? And so the Wizards was a joke under Gilbert Arenas. The Wizards was a joke. A guy who just played and joked and did what he wanted. And then when somebody said, no, this is bullshit, this ain't right, this ain't how, there's no big eyes and there's no little U's. If he ain't going to practice, if he ain't doing this, then this is not a team. Straight up and down. So stop lying, Eddie. Tell the time that you said about this player needs more rope, and you drew that long ass rope and you did it for Gilbert after he missed practice. Because you couldn't even punish your own player. Conduct detrimental to the team would have been 30 times for Gil, but you never could do anything because Eddie Jordan, Ernie Grunfeld ran you.
He admitted to us he did not want to play anymore on our team.
See, I remember him being so mad at Gilbert that
I didn't know why. I just thought he just it
was because he thought that Gilbert came to you and said,
"You starting to get nervous, Eddie. You don't even want Etan to talk no more. You starting to get nervous, Eddie. You don't like these questions." Eddie, I would love for you to hit my link. I would love for you to have an interview with me.
On our team.
See, I remember him being so mad at Gilbert that
I didn't know why. I just thought he just
it was because he thought that Gilbert came to you and said, "Do not play Kwame anymore."
I would never. You think I would listen to Gilbert?
I hear you, but that was the thought, and he was so mad. He was like, "If I come to practice, I'm going to knock Gilbert out, and that's going to be bad for me. So I will stay away." And I wish he would have explained all that back then, because that was the reason why he said I should not come in right now, or I should not be around the team right now, because I will go beeline right to Gil, because he was so mad. And I don't know if his age.
Yeah, because this started weeks back. This started way before that. His agent was courting me to come over to his agency. So at that point, I had it up there. I knew they wasn't going to do nothing to him. And I knew if I hit him, Ernie Grunfeld was going to run it up the numbers. So I said, you know what? I'll just take conduct detrimental to the team by just sitting out. And I'll just play next summer without touching him. Because I knew I had that rule up under me that I couldn't put my hands on him, because I broke my hand down in Gainesville, Florida before I got drafted. So they covered that up. They said I had small hands, but I fractured. I already broke the 5th metatarsal, carpal or tarsal. I think tarsal is feet, carpal is hand. I don't know. Might be vice versa. But I broke this bone right here, and then I shattered the 8th bone in my wrist. And I guess now that I know that they wanted to trade me for Elton Brand, they didn't say what was going on. So they just said I had small hands, which I couldn't really grab the ball with my right hand. I remember doing a slam photo shoot with a broken hand, and I couldn't palm the ball. So I'm trying to palm the ball with my knuckle fucked up, and I'm trying not to let them know that my hand is all torn up. But my hand is all mangled. And so I couldn't do anything, because if I would have gotten a fight in the locker room, it voids my contract, because we had a real motherfucking David Stern was our commissioner back then. And David Stern, when he said something, he meant it. So I wasn't finna go in the locker room and fight anybody. So I said, fuck it. I'll just take conduct detrimental to the team. Won't say nothing to nobody, and fuck them. Let them lose with this loser. And that's what happened.
Somebody told him that. I don't know how that, because some reason Gilbert thought that I told him that, because he knew that we was tight. And I was like, I never say that. I was like, my issue was with the media. And I said how the media was egging it on, and I even talked to the media. But I don't know nothing about the other stuff. But that was the reason why he wanted to stay away and why he didn't come to practice that day. I just don't think he ever explained that.
he really never expressed his thoughts to us. He just sat there and said, "I just don't feel like playing anymore." I mean, just bluntly and flatly, "I just don't want to play anymore," and that's it. And we just, to me, it was no trying to convince him, because we were at such a important time at the time, and we had something going. I got enough players here. I got you and Brendan and everybody else, in that position. So that's why he didn't play. And I stopped listening to them go back and forth to each other. But I listened to them about a year. It's a lot. Yeah, it's not even. It's gotten to a point where it wasn't even funny.
And the thing is, I agree. And the thing is, it's like, I don't know. And even when I sat down and talked with the reporters and told everything, I was like, I don't know if any of this even matters now at the point where they are. I don't think if they even care how it first started. And it wasn't that, you know what I mean? They've gone so far beyond. Yeah, I don't know if there's any coming back from it. They're talking about each other's families and their, you know what I mean? They're doing with their, I'm like, that's, and I.
No, we're not talking about each other's families. It's one person talking about families, but that's neither here nor there. Let's keep it going.
Hope, and this is, you know what I mean? Because I know, Kwame's my man. You know what I mean? When Kwame went off on everybody that time when he was mad at, he was like, F you, F you, F you. He was like, Tom Thomas, you're cool with me. But F you, and it was so crazy because so many people started calling me like, yo, what's up with Kwame? Why is he cool with you? And but he went off on everybody. But I was there for the whole time when he first got to the Wizards, and I saw how it was really like him against the world. Like,
this frustration just built just over years, over months, and years. Yeah. And he couldn't get to that performance level that everybody expected him to get to. Yeah. And I'm sure it was frustrating for him. And it's a lot, first pick in the draft, you're 7 foot, you got a body of a Greek god, right. And your performance level isn't what people expected it to be. Right. So, and look, it wasn't because he didn't give effort. He gave great effort. Kwame would work hard. Yeah. He was physical, and he knew that he had to be that sort of player, an explosive, physical, dynamic player, and he tried. He gave great effort. Yeah. It was just, some things that just didn't work well for him. That's all.
Yeah, and it was unfortunate. But I mean, he wasn't, I hate when people keep saying he's a bust. I mean, Kwame played 13, 14 years in the league. That's not a bust.
Sure did.
I have these arguments with people so many times, and I hear them talking. I'm like, you don't even know what you're talking about. And it makes me mad sometimes because people speak with such, you know what I mean? Like, certainty, like they just know. I'm like, you have no idea. You're just talking. But it's but another thing that I did say on that podcast that got a lot of people's attention in that discussion with the different reporters. A lot of people came up to me about the Javaris Crittenton situation with Gilbert, especially after the Netflix documentary came out. I don't know if you saw it. Did you see it?
I watched it. Yeah, shooting goal.
Yeah, that was a tough watch too. But and there was a lot of different problems that I had with it because I felt that they didn't tell the whole story. There's a whole lot more to it that they could have told, and they didn't show all the positive stuff that Javaris has been doing since, and like how he worked with the family and helped the family, and what he's doing now with young people and the stuff he's doing with AAU. And they didn't show the redemption story. And I just felt that if they were going to tell the story, they had to tell the complete part. But they were focused so much on, Gilbert, and he did this, and then he did. I'm like, okay, you talked about that. I move on past that. But that's what drew the people, and I get it. But I made a statement during that podcast, and it got a lot of people's attention, and they didn't understand what I was saying. You'll understand more what I was saying. I said that the person that I know deserves the majority of the blame, not all the blame, but the majority of the blame for that happening that they didn't show in a Netflix documentary was Ernie Grunfeld. And I said because the reason why is Ernie let Gilbert do whatever he wanted to do from the time he got to the Wizards, and it just got worse and worse and worse. It's like
what did he say? What did you say, Etan Thomas?
Because the reason why is Ernie let Gilbert do whatever he wanted to do from the time he got to the Wizards, and it just got worse and worse and worse. He wanted to do.
What'd you say, Etan? I ain't got to argue.
From the time he got to the Wizards, and it just got worse and worse and worse. It's like, and Gilbert was incredibly. He if that never happened, he'd probably be in Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? But at that time, Gilbert didn't have the personality that you could just say you can do whatever you want to do. He needed structure. He needed discipline. He needed rules. And you would attempt to make rules, and if he wouldn't do something, you would find him, and then Ernie Grunfeld would give him his money back. Like it was like I remember I would see Gilbert come into the gym, and he would be in there early in the morning, working out, everything like that. Mm-hmm. Then he would leave and then be late for practice. And I was like, you late when you done already worked out for 2 hours, but you didn't want nobody to know that you was working out. But you know what I mean? But I was like, what you doing? But it was almost like he wanted to do things to prove a point that he could. And you know what I
mean? Hey, Eddie, why your face look like that? Come on, man. You know that man humbled you, man. Come on, man. Stop lying. Eddie, Gilbert made you a weenie dog, man. You told that man everybody showed up for practice. He ain't show up on purpose, and you couldn't do nothing. You had that. You gave this man a fine slip. Just imagine how. And I feel bad for you now. I didn't know you was getting undermined like that. You got undermined by the GM. You tried to discipline your team, and the GM allegedly took the fine paper and threw it in the trash. So how can you have a team with a young man that will willfully disrespect the coach in front of everybody? That's why Etan is laughing. Gilbert would disrespect you in front of your face, knowing you couldn't do nothing about it. Hey, Gilbert would disrespect this nigga in front of his face. He couldn't do nothing. If he would have fined him, Gilbert would be like, I don't give a fuck. I ain't finna pay the fine. He said it right there in practice. Soon as he Gilbert, you're fine. Gilbert be like, I don't give a fuck. I'm not gonna pay the fine. And Eddie Jordan would make the fine disappear. Eddie Grunfeld would make the fine disappear. Keep stumping, Kwame. You gave folks free game. I hope they catch it. Mars in the chat, they ain't catching it. But this is a shame. Eddie, I see that look on your face, man. You need to hit my link or come up here because I can get the truth about
you. And if Ernie, like supported him with anything, he never told Gilbert no. So there was a lot of things that happened before that gun incident that would blow people's minds that Gilbert did. And Ernie...
There's a lot of things that happen that will blow people's minds that Gilbert did. I wonder who else said something like that. Now, is Etan Thomas hating too? Everybody's just hating, huh? Let's keep it going. I don't need to say nothing.
Ernie okayed all of it, had no issues with any of it, and it just got worse. Happened before that gun incident that would blow people's minds that Gilbert did. And Ernie okayed all of it, had no issues with any of it, and it just got worse and worse. That's my opinion. You can tell me if you think I'm wrong.
Antoine, so when I told you I saw Antoine at a game, because I was actually scouting for St. John's. I was doing a little scouting, not scouting officially, but assistant coach at St. John's asked me to watch this kid, which lives about 15 minutes from me.
Okay.
So that's when I go to the game, and this kid I'm watching, his school is playing against Antoine's son's school. So that's why I got to see Antoine watching his son play. And Antoine and I sitting up there watching the game, and Antoine turned to me and said exactly what you said. He said, you know how good we could have been if Ernie didn't let Gilbert get away with a lot of that stuff. He just said that right out of the blue. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if Antoine wanted me to say this, but it's all in the past. But it's the honest truth. But he said, it was a great statement. He said, you know how good we could have been if Ernie didn't let Gilbert get away with everything. The fines, not paying this, not paying that. And, I said this. I had a line with Mr. Paying this, not how good we all in the past, but it's the honest truth. But he said, it was a great statement. He said, you know how good we could have been if Ernie didn't let Gilbert get away with everything. The fines, the great statement. He said, you know how good we could have been if Ernie didn't let Gilbert get away with everything.
So wait a minute. You have Kwame Brown saying something about the same person. Etan Thomas saying the same thing. And now Antoine Jameson and Eddie Jordan all saying the same thing about this one person, that Ernie Grunfeld let him get away with everything. But Kwame was hating. Kwame was lying. Kwame just jealous about his basketball career. We got Antoine Jameson, Etan Thomas, and Eddie Jordan all saying the same thing. Are they all jealous of him too? I just want to know. But I'm going to let these brothers keep on expounding on the actual truth.
if Ernie didn't let Gilbert get away with a lot of that stuff. He just said that right out of the blue.
Mhm.
And I don't know if Antoine wanted me to say this, but it's all in the past. But it's the honest truth. But he said it was a great statement. He said, you know how good we could have been if Ernie didn't let Gilbert get away with everything. The fines, not paying this, not paying that. And you know, I said this. I had a line with Mr. Poland. I had a direct line with Mr. Poland. And I said to Mr. Poland, we're going to be disciplined. And look, Gilbert has his ways. And I always said this. I even drew this on the whiteboard to the locker room. I don't know if you remember this. I said, if you have a regular road, a highway, and you have a middle line that tells you which side to be on, the middle of the road. I said, now, to go down the road, some of us walk this straight line down the road. Some of us wiggle a little bit out the road, out of the straight line. That's okay. But the road has a border on each side. And once you go outside that border, that's when I get on you and there's going to be consequences. So I'll let you be yourself within this road where we're going, every individual. And so.
Is that the story I remember, Eddie? Is it the border story or is it the rope story? Is that the same one when Gilbert disrespected the hell out of you and you gave this little cockamamie story about lines and ropes and he still didn't show up to practice? Is that what you're explaining? Is everything I'm saying, you guys are starting to say it now? I know I'm a little more of a, sometimes I say things that people don't see, so I can be called a hater or I can be called this. Because Antoine Jameson didn't see it either when I was saying this guy is a fucking idiot. You can't win with no nigga that act like this. You can't win with a, yeah, he gonna score points. It's gonna look good. It's all vain. It's all selfish. But you ain't gonna win with somebody that only playing one end of the court. This is stupid. He don't even show up to practice. This is not gonna work. But now these guys want to tell the truth, so I'm gonna let them tell actually the truth.
You go outside that border. That's when I get on you and there's going to be consequences. So I'll let you be yourself within this road where we're going, every individual. And so I don't know if you remember this. The one time Gilbert was really did about 2 or 3 things in a row that I said, okay, I got discipline really good now. So I said, Gilbert, you're not starting tonight.
I remember that.
And he got all pissed off and sit by his locker. He was this and that. But it wasn't like he didn't play. He didn't start. So what's happening in karma is kind of real to me. I believe in karma. So I didn't wish, no one wishes anything bad, but Gilbert goes in the game, and that's the night he got his knee hurt. He went in there, he's blocking out with the kid from Charlotte that jumped real high. Crashed. Yeah, blocking him out unless he was coming in for a layup.
Joe Wallace.
Yeah, so he turned and blocked, face up, and the guy fell on his knee. And to me, it was like, it's a very unfortunate incident, but that was the downfall of his health problems. But he added on to that, instead of doing what the doctors told him to do.
Yeah.
This is the timeline for your knee to be 100% at this time. This is the stages you have to go through. Gilbert skipped like the first 4 stages and went right to running with a parachute on the track, playing basketball and asphalt in the summer league games. So he skipped, again, what made him great made him bad, is what I used to say about players. He was great because of his arrogance and his ego and his confidence and his ability, So in the end, that hurt him because he thought he could do it on his own without the doctors, without following these rules. And his knee never got healthy.
Yeah, I remember that
from the beginning.
Yeah, I remember that. Now, and that was.
So Eddie, are you saying he knew more than the doctors? He wouldn't listen to you. He wouldn't listen to Ernie. He wouldn't listen to his teammates, and now he wouldn't listen to the doctor either. Interesting. Keep telling your story.
Was that the game where he said, "I'm not going to shoot"?
No. He did that. He did that once. He did that in the Garden, and he shot in the 4th quarter. We won.
Right. But he didn't shoot the whole 3 quarters. Like he just didn't shoot the ball at all.
Didn't shoot the whole 3 quarters. And I remember Gilbert said he didn't make the Olympic team, and he says, "I'm giving 50 points to everybody involved with the Olympic team.
I remember that.
I'm gonna score 50 against all you guys." Well, okay. So he goes to LA, and I think he gets 62 or 64 in LA.
Against Kobe, right?
Against Kobe. We win. We go to Phoenix, and Mike D'Antoni.
That's where he did the bow afterwards.
Oh, in LA.
Yeah, in LA. I remember that. Yeah.
And the next night, we go to Phoenix, and he scores 54. We beat them in overtime. Steve Nash and those guys because D'Antoni was part of it.
Right.
And then we played I can't remember who we played. Maybe wherever Jared Jack was on, whatever team he was on at the time.
Okay.
Jared Jack. I don't know if it was Portland or Memphis. Or I can't remember. But I don't know. I don't know who was on that team that was affiliated with the Olympics.
Okay.
But that was a target team, as I say, a target team. So he only scored 9 points. And the media goes to Gilbert and says, "Why did you only scored 9? What was the problem?" He said, "Well, the coach emphasized defense all week." And I'm like, well, and so the media said to me in my media presser after the game, this is what Gilbert said, he didn't score 9 because of you emphasizing defense all week. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to even address that. Next question. Right?
Yeah.
So a couple, 2 or 3 more questions. So it comes back to me another way. Gilbert only scored 9 points. And I said, look, that's stupid, right? I just had enough. I said, that's stupid. The front office, you know what I'm talking about, wants us to concentrate and emphasize defense. So that's what we did. We emphasized defense for the last 3 or 4 days in practice. The emphasis was on defense. And so they go back and tell Ernie in the hallway what coach said that was stupid, what Gilbert said.
I remember that.
Ernie, instead of Ernie was the one that says, we got to emphasize defense. Let's emphasize defense. Mr. Coleman, we got to emphasize defense. Blah, 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 blah. So, okay, we will. So Ernie tells the press, well, and they said, what do you have to say about that, Ernie? Ernie says, well, defense, Gilbert scores a lot of points for us and will continue to score a lot of points for us. Instead of saying, well, yes, we want to emphasize defense. Coach is right, you know, and coach did the right thing. Instead of supporting what his message was, he goes to Gilbert and says, well, Gilbert scores a lot of points for us and will continue to score a lot of points for us.
So another example of what Kwame Brown is saying was 100% correct. Here it is that we have Eddie Jordan admitting that Ernie Grunfeld did not have his back. Ernie Grunfeld had the back of Gilbert at all costs. This is the coach of the Washington Wizards at the time, who had no backing of the front office, that had one of the wildest, craziest NBA players to ever touch the court. And he couldn't even discipline that player. So another one of my stories that I said that was dubbed Hey Team has now turned out to be confirmed from the actual coach of the team. So again, for those of you who made this about basketball and the way I played it and the way I feel and I'm jealous, I guess Eddie Jordan is jealous too.
I'm like, you know what? It is what it is.
But that's where we went with our conversation with media people. And I talked about the media's role in a lot of these issues that happens on teams. Yeah. So that's a prime example, what you just gave. The media specifically went to him and said that literally in the hallway, to get a certain response, and they did that. And it was so, I talk to my kids now. My son's playing at university. I know your son's playing. And I talk to them all the time about how the media tries to set athletes up and create risks and do it because they want stories. And I make references to different stuff that happened with us. So even in, we talked about, what happened with Gilbert and Kwame, and I literally watched them start the whole beef and everything like that. With you and Ernie, we didn't even talk about that with me and Brendan. Like they when it was interesting because there's a few things I want to ask you about this though. But first part, let me make this point. Yeah. That one season, they kept saying, well, who's going to be the starting center? And every time they came to me, well, you do this and you do this. Brendan said this. Do you have any response? I was like, no, I'm not responsible to that. It'll be what coach wants. And then they go to Brendan, well, this and this and this, and then they started almost creating the narrative. I don't know if they created it or Brendan created it, that you don't like Brendan. And this was after I won the starting spot. So let me see if you remember this though. Okay, you brought us both into because I hear Brendan tell this story over the years, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's not how it happened. That's not why it happened. So okay, you came. It was training camp, all right?
Yeah.
So training camp started. It was the competition between me and Brendan who was going to start that year. Okay.
Right.
The first of training camp, you started him with the first team. So he played the whole training camp through the first team. Now that I felt was kind of like, a little bit more towards him because he was playing with the first team the whole time. So of course he's going to look better because he's playing with the first team. Then when the preseason started, he played so however many games we played. We had 6 games with preseason. He played the first 3 with the preseason with the first team, right? Yeah. And then I played the last 3 with the first team, right? You remember all this? Yeah. So then and I played well those 3 games. So then afterwards, you were like, okay, I really like how the offense ran with you. I really like, and you talked to all the different players. You talked to, it was whoever, it was Kron, it was, I think you talked to everybody, everybody. You talked to all the different players, and they all agreed with you. You know what I mean? They were like, yo, look at how it's moving, how everything. And I was scoring, but I was scoring out of the offense. I was getting and the one thing that you wanted, I remember, and I was telling my son this just the other day. You wanted the big man, and I'm going to say this. I'm going to say it's because they didn't play his defense as well. I'll say that. You don't have to say, but I said that. But you wanted the big man to come when the ball was reversed. You wanted the 5 to come all the way over here and meet the person if they got beat by the baseline.
Before the restricted circle, yeah.
Yes. So in the previous administration, which was Doug Collins, he would have the person bump down and it not be this 5-man do that. I was like, of course it did. You said, he was like, right?
Right.
So after that, after the preseason was over, you brought us in the office, me and Brendan, and you said, okay, all right, so Brendan, you had the better training camp, but even though it was a lot of because he was on the first team, the whole training camp, and it didn't mean like he outplayed me, but it was just he was on the first team, so it looked better. So you had the better training camp, you had the better beginning part of preseason, which was also the time when he was with the first team. He's like, but the time finished up stronger at the end of the preseason, and then he just went off. It was like, well, that's 2 out of 3. If I got 2 out of 3, then that means I'm 2 better. And he's like, oh, yeah. And he went out. And I'm sitting there looking at him like, are you seriously acting like this? Like, because we had been there the previous 2 years under Doug Collins, and he was playing more than me because he worked better for Doug Collins' system, and I like that. You know what I mean? We was like on the team. Like, we would kick it. I used to carpool with him. We was all cool. But then at that point, he threw a whole tantrum and stormed out. If you
Hey, I thought y'all said they could be friends. So, as long as Brendan Haywood was the starter, he was cool with Etan. But as soon as Etan became the starter, it's F Etan. No more carpooling. Now, think about it. At the end of the day, we all come somewhere as individuals. This is all a business. We all got to pull for one another, but we all are competing against one another. So it's a weird dynamic. People don't know how to turn that shit off. You're competing with somebody for their job, their money, their time on the court. You're competing all day. So they don't know how to turn that shit off.
I wonder why. Do you know why?
I don't know why. He thought, and this is what I've heard him say, and this is one thing I wanted to ask you. He would say, and he would tell us, I've heard him say it a few times, that you flew down to wherever he lived, I guess maybe Charlotte, right? Charlotte.
Me and Randy Ayers.
And Randy, okay, I remember Randy Ayers' part, but it promised him that he was going to be the starting center. And you went back on your word. And I was like, well, he didn't, I'm told, I was like, well, he didn't promise me anything. He said for me that you'll have the opportunity to compete. And that's all I asked for. And you said you have the opportunity to compete. He was like, and whoever is better at that position and runs things the way that I want them to be ran and is more effective, that's the person who will be playing more. That's what you told me.
So let me just say this. I needed scoring off the bench. That's priority number 1 for me. I didn't care who. I shouldn't say that. I felt our team was better with you coming off the bench, with your force. Your force was what we needed after the first 6 minutes of the game. After the first 6 seconds.
I can see that. Etan comes in the game. He knows how to play off the bench. Not that he can't play in the starting role, but Etan do everything with so much goddamn veracity. And man, Etan come off the bench, he gonna grab a rebound some way or somehow. He gonna grab a rebound, and he ain't going back up for no layup. You either gonna block it or he gonna dunk it on your face. That's just Etan. He's a left-hand shot blocker, and he going the other way, and he trying to dunk everything. This Joker can put wristbands on his arm, and they don't slide down. So he was strong as an ox. So I can see a coach, even if Etan outplayed Brendan, I can see him starting Brendan and then bringing Etan to bring that spark and then playing Etan starters minutes. So I can see that happen.
7 minutes, we needed you to come in. That was the whole premise of Brendan starting. Whether I came down to Charlotte. I didn't promise him he would start. It was to repair this line, this saying that I said about him at the end of the year. I don't know if you ever remember that, but
I don't remember.
Huh? Well, the thing was, Brendan was playing not so great for a little while, and then and Ernie and the assistant coaches, and we kept talking about how we're gonna get Brendan to play better, and then Brendan started playing better, right, for a little while, for maybe another 3 or 4 weeks, right? Not even that long, maybe 3 or 4 games.
Okay.
So there was a media after the game, after his like the 4th or 5th really good game in a row. The media says, "Well, how do you get Brendan? Why is Brendan playing so well?" So my mind was, there's an old African saying that it takes a village to raise a child. I don't know if you remember that. I said that. I said that. And it was probably the wrong thing to say, but I said it because I'm thinking. I said that. It takes a well. So my mind was, there's an old African saying that it takes a village to raise a child. I don't know if you remember that. I said that. I said that.
I would have been mad at that shit too. Eddie, what do you mean it takes a village to raise a child? Why would you say that to him? Yeah, if I'm Brendan, I'm mad like a mother too. I ain't gonna lie. I know me and Brendan don't see eye to eye all the time, but if I just don't know how he expected Brendan to take that. They ask you, how is he playing? Well, it takes a lot to raise a child. God dang. Brendan's a whole grown man that graduated college, everything. I think he graduated. But golly, it takes a lot to raise a child. Interesting choice of words.
I said that. It was probably the wrong thing to say, but I said it because I'm thinking, I'm gonna give everybody credit here, not me. I didn't make, Ernie talked to him, the assistant coach was worked with him. We had somebody else talking to him. So everybody was involved in giving Brendan a lot of confidence and saying, you can do this, you're important and all that. And that was my first thing came to my mind was, well, it takes a village to raise a child. Meaning everybody was here, not to call Brendan a child, but everybody was involved. His mother took offense to it also.
Oh.
His mother called and got people involved, and look, I get it. Again, I get it. I said the wrong thing as far as calling him a child. But it was the right analogy, but I shouldn't have said it.
I got you.
So our relationship was really tainted after that. And his mother had a problem with me saying it, and even Ernie had a problem. So everybody had a problem with me trying to give everybody credit.
Okay, I got you.
So it was recommended, it was suggested to me, said, why don't you after the season, why don't you go down and patch things up with Brendan? That's what the trip was for. It's not to come here and tell him he was going to be a starter.
Okay.
It was just to say, hey, look, I said the wrong things, blah, blah, blah. We sat at the restaurant for a couple of hours. That was it. I didn't mean to call you a child. I said the wrong thing. And that was what that trip was for. But there was no question in everybody's mind that if you were the starter, Brendan wasn't a coming off the bench type player for me. He just didn't. I mean, in the offense, you had the back screen, you had the roll back, you were aggressive, you had this force at time that we needed in certain times of the game. And you knew how to run the offense. You were unselfish in every phase of the word. See, selfishness pops up in a lot of people, but you were as unselfish as they came.
Right.
But you were aggressive. You had the jump shot. You kept the defense honest. You had the roll back. You had the drive. You had the post up. You had everything in the game offensively. See, who do we have off the bench? Once we sat Antoine and Karan, or once we sat 2 of those 3 big 3, we needed the offense off the bench.
Right.
Who else was there other than it was you mostly that sparked us? And not just scoring, but just the force that you played with.
No,
and that's what I thought was so important to our team than you starting and you're on the floor with 3 other big time 20-point scorers. I wanted you to be the 20-point scorer. I wanted you to win your minutes.
I got you.
When you came off the bench, because we had, imagine coming off the bench with Brendan and whoever else we had to take up the scoring load. So that was the thing. That was more important than anything because I'm looking at what's the best success for the team. So yeah, there was no promising minutes. There was no promising starting. It was, hey, I'm not a bad guy to you, Brendan. I don't hate you. So this is funny too. You'll get a kick out of this. So just last week, so Brendan still goes to Lifetime Fitness. I don't go there anymore because I play golf all the time. I don't have. I work out at home and I go play golf all day. So one of my best buddies that I play golf with goes to the Lifetime Fitness. So and I told him, we were talking, and I told him, yeah, I play golf with Eddie. Me and Eddie play golf all the time. You know what Brendan told him? The first thing he said, oh, coach don't like me.
Yeah, he says it over and over again.
I'm like, so I called it. So my man says, he said you don't like him. I said, tell Brendan, he was like, those days are over. I never disliked him. I said, Brendan was the unsung hero of our playoff team. Tell him that. So maybe, I don't know. But again, it's so awkward when I run it. It's not awkward, but it's like, hey, Brendan, like, you know, I'm good, man. You're good. You know, I'm 70, and you're, you know, whatever. You were 20, and I was 40. You know, forget it.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard him say before that the reason why I was playing was because you didn't like him. And I was like, no, that's not what it was. And then I heard Gilbert repeat that on his podcast. I was like, no, that's not what happened at all.
Not true. It's not true at all. I like the way we played with him as a starter and with you as a scoring force coming off the bench. And again, not just scoring, but just the way you played. We wanted to continue that aggressive like mindset and the way of style of playing.
But then after that preseason, you switched it and you were starting me.
Yeah.
And that's when he got really upset. And that's the part where I didn't handle the situation the best I could have, but he went to the media, or his agent went to the media, or whoever went to the media, and they were making the case that he was being done unfairly, and you know, you were taking out on him because of putting personal feelings inside, putting into the situation of why I was starting, because that's the only. And I took offense. I was like, wait a minute, you think the only reason why I'm starting is because he don't like you, and why does you? And so I took offense to that, and so that's why I came to practice. I didn't get it. I punched him, but I gave him the opportunity to say something, but I gave him and so that's why I came to practice. I didn't get it. I punched him, but I gave.
Don't try to gloss over that shit at time. You got all them books in the background, but you still a whoop a nigga. I mean, he don't like the N-word. Whip a brother behind. Yeah, Etan gonna whip. I said the N-word one time. He like, hey, I don't like the N-word. I'm like, what the hell? And you know me, I can tell when somebody for real or not, because I grew up in an environment. I looked at him. Now, I was taken aback by a nigga telling me what to say, but I'm like, do I really want to fight him right now or not? So I could look in his eyes and tell he's serious about this shit. So I say, all right, nigga. I say, all right, my bad. I won't say the N-word around you, but I'm going to say the N-word every time you ain't around. He was an African, I don't know. He just don't like the N-word, I guess. But it was funny. It was hilarious. But this interview right here is exactly what I've been saying. Everything they have said, from Antoine to Etan to the coach to myself, we all said the same thing.
The opportunity to say something. Like, I came to the practice and I was like, hey, this is what I see. What is this bull that you're doing in the papers? Like, say it in the paper. You think that, I was like, come on, man. I didn't spend 2 years under a different administration where you played more. So now you're going to throw a hissy fit because I'm playing more? Like, what kind of, and I had like his response. And then you know what I mean? It
might have been agent driven, because I kind of know his agent from before I got to the Wizards. And his agent had some things that he thought were the right thing for the team. But I told my first head coaching job in Sacramento, I said, look, you guys agents who have opinions. I don't talk to agents. And so that was my thing. I never talked to agents as I was a coach. I think they might do it now. I think a lot of that's happening now. But, it was about what's the best I can get out of this team and how can we formulate the system and rotate the guys in that's going to help us win as many games we can win. That's it. It wasn't about, again, I've seen some things in practice that, hey, I remember the one time we needed to really dig down on defense. I started Michael Ruffin and oh gosh, I can't remember his name. Oh, this was a GM for the Minnesota.
Oh, Calvin Booth.
Oh, Calvin Booth. Antoine and Brendan. Yeah. I think that's how it happened. We win, and Antoine scores he scores a bucket to tie us in regulation.
Yeah.
And Antoine comes to the bench, and he was still pissed off at not starting. He knocked some things over on the press table. I said, you know what? I don't give a, I don't give a care because this is about winning the game.
Right.
And we won the game. But then the next game, I started them back.
Yeah.
Whoever it was, maybe it was Calvin Booth for Brendan, and it was Michael Ruffin for Antoine.
You know, it was interesting, and my thing. The reason why I even got into the media is to combat a lot of the stuff that I didn't like seeing in the media. That was really my motivation to get to start doing different things. And I remember after everything that you're saying, I remember that part. 'Cause I remember what was written in the papers about it. I remember how they were trying to. He made a questionable decision not to start, but then he made the game winning.
KB, I thought you had Rob Parker on your panel. No, that ain't Rob Parker.
And there was, that's just the way the media does. And I didn't see it back then, but now removed, looking back on it, a lot of these issues that was going on, I really do blame the media for a lot of it, just because the way. I mean, when I got into the fight with Brendan, it was because of what I saw in the media. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then even the way that I remember, it was Ivan Carter. Even the way that Ivan Carter wrote about the fight, he added all this different stuff. I was like, wait a minute, that didn't happen. Like, are you trying to make the story juicier? that didn't even happen. I mean, he said at one part, he said, like Brendan body slammed me. Brendan ain't body slamming nobody. Brendan, my man, he ain't about to pick nobody up. You know what I mean? And it's
this is true.
and so like even the parts when I would see Brendan tell the story, I was like, wait a minute, you're leaving key parts out. You don't tell the part where you grab my hair and wouldn't let go, so I couldn't hit you. You don't ever tell that part. You know what I mean? You skip over
right.
that. And then, but it's just it's my issue is part. You don't tell the part where you grab my hair and wouldn't let go, so I couldn't hit you. You don't ever tell that part.
That's why these niggas mad at me. I told you, nigga. Hey, look, Etan, you can't fight no nigga like Brendan with no dread. You got to tie these things up. You got to get it close to your hair. And then you got to keep one hand loose. So if he grab your hair, you got to grab his wrist and then punch him in the nose. You got to grab his wrist so you lock it in so he can't pull your hair. Then you can lift your head up. Grab the man's wrist. They grab your hair. That's easy. But yeah, man, he grabbed your hair. That's crazy. They say Etan was about to kill him, and he was just holding on for dear life, swinging around in a merry-go-round with Etan hair, and dreads was all over the floor. Dang, man, that's crazy. So they thought I was lying, but as you hear from the horse's mouth, the man was pulling his hair.
Leaving key parts out. You don't tell the part where you grab my hair and wouldn't let go, so I couldn't hit you. You don't ever tell that part. You know what I mean? You skip over
right.
That. But it's just it's my issue with the media, and that's what I was challenging them on. Is when the media wants to create, and now that there's social media, it's even worse.
Yeah.
But the media likes to create rifts, and I think it happens so much. Like, first of all, I'm glad we didn't have social. Could you imagine Gilbert if he had his own social media back then when we were playing? That I think that would have been horrible.
Out of control. It would
absolutely horrible. But yeah, just to the point. Even now, I hear people repeating that you had this dislike for Brendan, and it affected how you coached and who you played. And I'm like, that's not what happened.
Let me just say this. I'm just like when you don't come over and try to block a shot. I'm just like a guard, whoever it was, not trying to get in front of somebody for pick a charge on the dribble, or somebody, or Brendan, or you, or whoever it is. There's a lot of things I just like if you're not doing it right and you know what to do, or you don't want to do it because you got 2 fouls and you don't want to come over and rotate. Yeah, there's some things I dislike, but I've never disliked the person.
Yeah.
And I never disliked the player. I just like that play. I just like what just happened. I mean, that's coaching, and that should be players too. Your teammates should say, "Hey man, I don't like what you just did right there because that's not the right thing to do." So maybe he took that concept into his personal life. Like, Brendan, you gotta come over and block that damn shot. Or at least change that shot. Maybe he sat down and said, "Shit, coach don't like me." Maybe that's what happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were strong enough to know that this is a business and this is my job and this is what the kind of communication we're supposed to have. And so maybe that's what happened. But again, like my buddy says, he says you don't like him. Hey man, I'm 70 years old. Why would I not like Brendan Haywood?
Right.
Brendan, so I said, he was one of our unsung heroes of our playoff team. Just does he like me now if I say that? And if I said 199 good things about him, and I'd say one thing that he didn't do on the court, does he not like me? So that's what it looked like, you know.
Yeah, with Brendan, as soon as you say that one unfavorable thing, he's not gonna like you.
I mean,
So-
you got on me. I mean, that's the thing. I was like, I don't even see him getting on you like that. You know, it wasn't like Doug Collins would get on me. It wasn't like that type of a thing. But it's when I tell young people, I talk, I do a lot of motivational speaking still, and talking when they ask me questions like, when they bring up, what if a coach doesn't like you? I was like, I don't think coaches play people according to who they like. They play people according to who they think will help them win
the game. Right.
It's like I was like, you don't think that coaches play people who they don't like personally, but they can help them win? I was like, that happens all the time. And I talk about how when you first came there and you said, you sat all of us down. It was me, Brendan, and Jahadi. I want to say it was one more person. I can't think of who the other person was. You said,
Kwame, what the hell did you do to your cousin to make him your lifelong hater? It's sad. Most people just got a problem with me being me. A lot of times I don't want to do, or I don't want to see the vision that they're trying to make me see. So sometimes that makes them upset, but they'll be all right.
I want you guys to do this. Catch the ball at the top of the key. You dribble. Hey, you told us the offense and how it worked and everything. I had never done that before. That wasn't something I did in Syracuse. That wasn't something I did. But I said, okay, this is what he wants. This is what I'm going to give him. So I started practicing dribbling right hand, dribbling left hand. You know what I mean? Doing a handoff and then diving hard, turning and sealing. Or fake handoff if the person jumps up and be able to see that they're jumping up, and a fake handoff and then be able to make a play and not run the person over if they come over and help. Or to be able to, all the different things that you said that you wanted, I made sure that I did those things. You know what I mean? If you want me to come all the way from over here, and not get on whoever that guy is that let the guy go baseline, but you want me to come and help, you know what I mean? To like save him from getting beat baseline. Okay, I have to do that. So I got to either take a charge, make a play on the ball, or something like that.
Or foul him.
Or foul him, right? Sometimes foul. Or sometimes I would get dunked on. I got dunked on by Vince Carter doing that. I got dunked on by LeBron. I think Tracy McGrady got me. You know what I mean? But that's what you wanted, so that's what I did. And I tell young players, you have to find out what the coach wants. Not what you want to do, you know what I mean? Right. But what the coach wants you to do. And when you find out what the coach wants you to do and do it, whether he likes you or not, or how he feels about you, or if he agrees with your blue.
I agree with some of that, but I think my part on this is over. But yeah, man, I'm about to get me a little something to eat. I think this interview pretty much redeemed everything I said in a nutshell. I don't think the hating lie stick. I don't think the jealous narrative stick. I don't think Etan is jealous of Gilbert or anyone. I don't think Eddie is either. Excuse me. I don't think Eddie is either. So we Kwame, you ain't going nowhere. We up. I'll be back. I'm just gonna watch some of this game. So I'll be back. Let me watch some of this game and vindicated you, Kwame. Thank you, SJ. But yeah, man. Yeah. These guys, salute to Etan for the great interview. Salute to Eddie. I think he needs to be a little more honest. He should tell more of the story, more of what happened. Him and Eddie Grunfeld and all of those people were very aware of the situation with Gilbert because they created that monster that y'all see. So it is what it is. I'm about to watch some of this game, so I got to get up out of here. Y'all have a blessed night. Appreciate everybody who super chatted. I'm up out of this thing. I'm gone.